Good afternoon, everybody. It's Miss Gabby coming to you live today from my kitchen, and I have something super great planned for you. And we have a really great lineup today with also Miss Rachel and Miss Van. But with me today, you are going to be making paper flower gardens. We're actually going to grow our own today. So here we have it. So this is my example, but definitely going to show you how to make one. And with Miss Rachel, you're going to be making a cardboard spirograph. And with Miss Van at 2 o'clock, she's going to be making cold porcelain dragons. So definitely stay tuned, but let us get started with us today. So here, I love starting out with a clean area, especially having all of my supplies and everything right at hand as well. So here's my example. And so today we're going to need, excuse me, we're going to need some magazines. And if you maybe don't have any fun or any great magazines or anything like that, we have maybe some tissue paper, some construction paper colored, even some junk mail if you have anything lying around, just nick newspaper to help create your flowers today. We can use a lot of great things, or even make our own colored paper of the sort or something like that too. So if you have like just some white paper, you can definitely color any kind of designs or anything on that too. So this, it requires a little bit of time and a little bit of preparation too. And maybe, if you want to go towards a certain idea or something, here I just kind of laid it out, trying to give you an idea of what it would look like and anything like that too. So yeah, so definitely you're going to need a piece of cardboard today, and it could be any size since, we have probably a lot of cardboard lying around because we've been shopping online maybe here and there a little bit. And so I also have markers, some scissors, and a pencil here today. I do have a glue stick on hand and some white glue, depending on what you have. I also have a hot glue gun today. And for the hot glue gun, I do recommend having an adult with you or helping you with that. Just, because it is, it's a little bit hot and you could just, burn yourself. So I have mine preheated already and ready to go. And that's what I'm going to use just for today, for time's sake. And I do recommend if you have any like embellishments or anything, like you see if you have glitter or ribbon, you can make your flower garden, just like as beautiful and wild as you want using anything. So I just found some things that I have lying around, so I can add to my flower garden, just like some self-adhesive things or things I can glue on myself. I do also I'm going to be using something that I actually created last week for one of our videos. I'm going to use some of my leaf drawings, like my leaf rubbings that I created for Cap at Home. And I'm going to use those today for the example as well. So yeah, let us get started. So remember, we do want to keep things clean too. So, I love putting my scraps right off to the side when I, have a designated area or something, or just even working on top of something, not to get the table dirty or, make a big, huge mess. So I'm going to put this example to the side. So, you can kind of see how big your piece of cardboard is. I used a little bit of a smaller piece, to show for us today. And also if you want to add grass or a sky, those are all things that you want to think about beforehand, to be able to, kind of plan out what your garden is going to look like. So in my previous example, I had a pretty large grass, but I want to look through my magazines, if I want to think about using like a specific color, for my flowers or something of that. I kind of used a little bit of cool colors like in my previous garden, but like I have so many different things, and that's what's really cool about magazines, is there's just so many different things that you're able to find kind of looking through the magazine, or even using like a previous drawing of something of that sort. So I did already have some pre-cut here, some petals, but I also have some other, scrap pieces of paper that I found. Like, see, I kind of found some things here that, were like warm and yellow tones and different, like shades of yellow, to do that. And even I have some, like some blues as well off to the side, or even so for some greens, you know, I want to make a garden, so you know, I want to look for some green things or some grass. I want to like, you know, but then if you're flipping through and you find something really interesting that you like, that you're like, wow, that would be really pretty and really interesting, you know, to make, like, here are some nice like red tones for these animals too. So I always suggest when you find something that you really like in the magazine, you know, just go ahead and rip out the entire page, because you know, you never really know what you're going to be using. So I like to think about what I'm going to be using beforehand and what colors I need, and just put those off to the side. You know, like this is really interesting too. I really like just maybe the blue tones here. So, you know, it's all about, you know, how you feel and like you want, and you can even not even, you know, use like a color scheme or something like that. You can make, like, you know, like I did in this one is monochromatic, which is, you know, basically all like the same hue and a tone of colors, which is like this one here. Just, you can kind of see here. So yeah, I'm gonna start going ahead and assembling. So I pulled some out just, you know, to show you how we're gonna do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and start off with the grass. So you see, I, you know, found this earlier that I really thought was interesting, because there is shades of green, you know, just because there is the green here, but also the entire buildings, you know, are really interesting color too. So you know, you wanna think about what side or, you know, like section of the photo that you're going to be using, and how you're gonna cut it out. And it's really interesting too, because you know, you have full control, and that's what's really great. So I actually do really like how this looks here, and I want to see that kind of, I can see how much of it I'm actually going to want to use here. So I'm just going to cut off this part of this building that I don't really want, because I more or less would like just the plant, because that's like the most green part. So you see that here, and to make the grass aspect of it, and I'm going to go ahead and just use my scissors, and I'm going to make little, and I'm going to make them, you see these cuts that I'm making. I'm not cutting all the way down to the bottom here, so we're going to have that grass effect. So we're just cutting along the one side here, and I'm actually going to cut them a little closer together and maybe a few apart to give more of the grass feel here for what we're doing. And I'm going ahead just slowly, you know, I'm taking my time and just going ahead and making them a little different sizes. But you also see I'm being conscious of not cutting all the way down to the bottom, because we do want to be able to glue that to our cardboard. So you see, and you know, there's different ways if you want to, like, you know, really cut it kind of like all over or something like that too. But you see here, that's actually a pretty great size. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take my glue gun and run it right down the edge here. You know, less is more, especially in our paper garden, because we don't want, our paper flower garden, because we don't want too much glue to be overpowering. And since the glue gun is hot, I'm just going to tap it here. And so we attached our grass here. And what we're going to do next is we want to give it that, you know, like feel of, you know, the grass is coming out at us. So I always like using my pencil to help kind of start folding apart my grass here. And you can kind of see how I rolled that. And it's kind of sticking up. And I'm not going to do it to all of them, just because I want to give it that, you know, grassy effect. Or even if I just were to curl it once, you know, it's, you don't have to do it to all of them, but it's about how you feel and what you think is going to look good in your paper garden, your paper flower garden. So you see how I'm kind of doing that there. So yeah. And it's great because the glue gun already made that. So you can kind of see how that's going. And if you want to, you can go ahead and add extra layers of grass. You know, it's up to you, or even creating like an actual, you know, like hills or something of that sort, or adding like you know, the blue sky. And that would be easy too, because we can just, you know, like use this blue here as well. So next I want to go ahead and start maybe, you know, kind of laying out my flowers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use, I'm going to kind of use, let's see, I'm going to use this for my flowers. So I want to draw out my petals. So this is really important, you know, and if you want to just freehand cut your petals too, but you know, I kind of want to make some standard petals. So I'm gonna go ahead and start just drawing them out, and they don't have to be super perfect. You can use a marker, you can use a pencil, and you know, it's really cool because you can kind of decide what areas of, you know, your paper or your cuttings, your magazines or anything like that that you want to use. And you know, it's all about just taking your time and really thinking about, you know, what colors you're putting together, and you know, if it looks like how it looks to you and what kind of feels that you're getting. So here I kind of made the standard, you know, petal, just something like that. But you see here I have some pre-cut ones that I kind of made a heart shape that I'm going to use. And here I made some different kinds as well. So, you know, you don't have to go with your standard petal shape. You can, you know, try out different things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just cut my petals out now. And so I'm going to go ahead, and I'm not, sorry, they're not going to be 100% perfect, and that's okay, because this is our art, and art doesn't have to be perfect. So here we are, I'm cutting out. So I really love what the flamingos look like here in the pink sections. I can even use the back side. And you know, you can even add extra layers to your petals too. So, you know, you can even alternate with darker colors, you know, colors that do match, maybe just different shades of pink, you know, or just little pieces of paper that do have that shade of pink in it as well. So you see, and I'm kind of putting everything off right to the side as I'm cutting. I like to keep things neat and organized when I'm working, and trying not to create too much of a mess. So I'm cutting that. So you see, that one is not as pink. That one has, like, you know, shades of blue and things like that too, and that's really nice. Or I can always use this side, which I really like this side too. It's really interesting because it has those little pops of white and different shades of pink, and they look more white. It's really interesting how, you know, animals like that can come across. But yes, so here are those. So you can kind of see they're a little different here and there. And, you know, a lot of these scraps you can reuse or add to a different part of your garden, but you can kind of see how I laid them out. So here I'm going to lay out to see maybe if I'm going to need more, or maybe I made them too small, or, you know, I can be like, oh, you know, I like how small those are, but, you know, I'm going to make a bigger one next time. So you can kind of see how I made that here. You know, I don't think that one goes too much with it because I think, you know, this one is not really, does not have too much pink or anything of that sort to match here. But you see, I think, you know, maybe I'm going to add an extra one. So I can always go back, you know, to my scrap here, and I'm going to just draw another petal. You see that? So I drew this petal here, and I'm gonna go ahead and just cut it out, making it a little bigger than it should be, but that's all right. And it's okay if you can see like your marks of your marker or anything like that, because I think it kind of adds like a nice little element to it of design. So what I want to do first is I'm gonna cut the center out of my flower. So I'm just going to use the same thing here, and I'm just going to cut a circle. So this will be the center of my flower. And what's nice is I can kind of decide where, you know, where actually I want to put that flower. So, you know, I think I want to just put it right here. That's where I'm going to put it. And I'm going to put this on top of my petals once I finish gluing them down. So I'm going to just use a little bit of glue and start putting it down. So that's what's really important about, you know, figuring out where your placement is going to be of your flowers. Just because it's going to help you in the long run with, you know, finally gluing and placing your flowers as well. So you can kind of see I'm just putting a little bit of dot of glue. And with the glue gun, you can kind of see it kind of creates like this funny looking web. And you can just keep going because you can just, once everything dries, you can kind of, you know, pull that off after. So I'm going to actually, you know, move that down a little bit. So I'm adding, so you can kind of see it all coming together. And you can be deciding too if you're working with the glue stick or white glue. If maybe it's not working out as how you really want it, you know, that's great because those are less drying times that you can kind of go ahead and just switch those things up. So you see that here? So that's the start of it, and you can kind of place this here to see how that's going to look as well. And you know what, I kind of want to add maybe a second layer. So, you know, I kind of want to maybe make it stand out a little bit more. So I do think I want to use this, the darker version of what we were using beforehand. So I kind of like how that looks. So you can kind of see the contrast between the pink. You know, it kind of adds this extra element, and, you know, that's something that you want to be maybe conscious of. And I'm going to go ahead and just cut a few more pieces using these darker flamingos. And you can kind of see, especially depending on working with like such smaller pieces, you can kind of see how maybe try not to lose your pieces of petals or anything of that sort. Because I'm working with really small pieces here, but that's all right. So you see how I am I'm gonna do just a little bit less here. So I'm going to maybe just add a little bit of glue. So you see how that came out, and I'm gonna just put those there, just moving them to the side, there. So you see that I'm not gluing the entire flower down because we kind of want to make that pop-up illusion. So I'm going to let that dry for another minute. I am going to cut one more piece here, and we're going to then let it dry fully. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I'm going to make that pop-up illusion, which we already did use that technique with our grass a little bit. So you see that there, and then now I can add the center that I made for my flower here. So you can kind of see everything is moving around a little bit, and that's all right. I'm just gonna stick that one out there. You know, you can save these to use for, you know, a different part or aspect of your paper flower garden, or you could just go ahead and put these in the trash pile. Yeah, I'm gonna probably save these just because I can probably use these for something different or something else. So yes, so here we have our semi-done flower. And so I want to, you know, make the stem for it. So I already have a pre-cut, you know, piece of green. And so, you know, you can, depending on how you want to make your stem, or if you even want to make it into pieces or just something long. But you see, I kind of like how in this, you know, picture that I found, it kind of goes from a light green to a dark green. You know, which is, I think, a little pleasing to the eye. And you can also, you can make it straight, you can make it curved. That's, you know, up to you. You can make a leaf for it. And you see, I'm just going to put one dot. Ooh. So I'm going to pick this up and put that right under there. So you can kind of see how that looks. Maybe I will put a piece of, or a dot of glue on this side here. So yep, you just want to take your time, and there we have that. So here, the next thing we want to do is we want to make our, you know, petals kind of come to life. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pencil, just like we did with the grass, is I'm going to just go ahead and start twirling them up a little. You see how I'm doing that? Is I'm kind of just wrapping the petal around the pencil and moving forward with it. Yep, and this one too. So you kind of see it's giving you that 3D kind of popping out at you effect. which is what we want because we want our garden to look so full and so lush and so beautiful. And it's already getting there. So you see that? So you can kind of see too, maybe if you thought maybe there's too much space, you could add some extra petals, you know, before you glue everything down. But that's what's nice is by placing everything, you know, on the cardboard beforehand, you can kind of see what you're gonna need and what is gonna be extra. So next I'm gonna, you know, work on this one, these pre-cut ones already. So I kind of wanted to make these a little bit heart-shaped, and you see I cut like a few extra. So I'm gonna I wanna kind of, you know, I'm gonna fold them beforehand too. So that's, you know, a technique that you can use as well. And even if you want, you can kind of decide maybe which way to fold your petals. And how you want to use them like that. So I'm going to just fold them so they're kind of folding inside one another. So you see I kind of picked these lovely blue color, and it's nice because I think it goes well with my flower garden, the rest of it, because it is all kind of like a darker tone, you know, and that's a, you know, a decision maybe that just can fall into your ideas, and that's okay too. You know, it's all about just kind of experimenting and playing around because we have so many magazines at home that we're just sitting around that we can use. But you know, you want to make sure that hopefully someone's done reading the magazine before you move on and cut through all of it. So you see how I'm just kind of folding along there. So now I'm gonna just place these and see how I kind of want them to be. So this one I made a little bigger, and that's really cool because I like the kind of the contrast that it's giving between the small one and the larger one. So you see how I did that here and here. So I'm gonna kind of see how I'm placing them. Yep, so I think that is more than enough. Yes. So I'm gonna go ahead and just place a glue dot right here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to start placing my petals. So you can kind of see maybe they're going to shift a little, and that's all right. That's what's really nice about slow drying glue too, is that you can kind of see how all of that is going to be placed. Put this here maybe. Yep. So you see how I did that? So I'm going to let that dry a little bit. And I think for my embellishments, I have all these awesome looking jewels, or, you know, I want to kind of pick one. Maybe there's some different colors and different sizes, you know, and whatever embellishments that you have too, like jewels or anything of that sort, will be super cool. Or even, I think this would be perfect with it. So I think that would be really cool too. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just put a little bit of glue on there. And that's also going to help probably, I'll see it kind of shifted, but I think that look goes so well. So that's what's really cool too. If you have a lot of these things lying around or anything like that, you can kind of see, you never know, it could surprise you on how it's going to look and come together. So that really gives a really great 3D look. You know, even just folding your petals, you know, and I really like that because they're quite like heart-shaped. So next, we want to create our stem. So, you know, I'm going to use the same green piece that I used beforehand. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make this one curved a bit. So you see I'm kind of cutting along. And you can draw out your curve too, and that's all right. So here, you can kind of see, so you can kind of see how that came there. And maybe if you want to create a leaf or something of the sort, you know, that's an option as well. And I'm gonna just take this glue. I'm gonna put a piece of, or a dot of glue up here and a dot of glue on the bottom. There we go. Then we got the glue web coming, and that's all right. So I'm just gonna put that there and lift this and put this, oops, here. So yeah, and so if, you know, once this dries, you can go ahead, maybe even kind of adjust these things to, you know, to pop them out a little bit more, fold them over across like that. That one's kind of stuck now because I got glue, but that's okay. But yeah, maybe, you know, to some people, maybe this is too blue. Maybe, you know, adding like maybe like a lighter blue to give it a little bit of contrast. But you see, I kind of went with the cooler tones here in my paper garden, you know, as well. So I really was excited to, you know, kind of use these two. And these I can even use as maybe my petals. So I was really happy to create these the other day for our Cap at Home, which these are leaf rubbings, and you can go ahead and look for that tutorial if you want to. But you know, if you wanted to add that, so that's something that I made the other day. So this works perfectly for a leaf, you know. And so I kind of used this lighter green here too, but what would probably be nice too is picking this cooler colored one, which is, you know, our cool colors are like blue and purple and green. So I'm gonna add that here too. So I kind of like the white contrast. So yeah, I mean, you can take your time and, you know, make this large and lush garden, but you know, that's how you pretty much can use, you know, all these things, you know, that you have at home already to create something super beautiful, maybe like to gift to somebody or something like that. So there you have it. So here is my paper flower garden, and hopefully you can grow your own, and hopefully you show us and post it in your comments. So there's my first one, and here's the one I made with you all today. So yeah, so now we're definitely going to clean up. So cleaning up is one of my favorite parts of, you know, creating art and things like that. Remember I said I like to keep all my scraps together. And, you know, things that I'm going to reuse, I put off to the side, you know, so I can use for a different project and things like that. So you see I'm just putting all my little gems away, putting all my, you know, markers and pencils back into my cup, you know, to save for later use. And definitely if you got glue anywhere, you can just clean that right up. And you see that. So I'm gonna just pitch that. I'm gonna unplug my glue gun, put this off to the side, and yes. So there you have it. So yeah, thanks for hanging out with me today. You know, my name is Miss Gabby once again, and stay tuned at 1 o'clock with Miss Rachel, and then at 2 o'clock with Miss Van. So we have a great lineup for you today. So thanks for hanging out. Hopefully you grow some really cool paper gardens, and yeah, post them in the comments to show us how you did it. So yeah, thank you.